So, a little bit of background about myself. I come from the opposite end from Angela. I come from the body to the mind, rather perhaps than the mind to the body. I worked in the House of Commons and realized as a physiotherapist that many people who were suffering from chronic pain were coming for treatment, and then they were going back into the workplace. And when they went back into the workplace, they seemed to have this recurrent surge of pain again, musculoskeletal pain. And I'm talking a long time ago, this was, by the way. We're talking way over 30 years ago when I did this. It took me on a journey of really looking and understanding that the mind and body are completely hardwired. And how we are in our bodies, we are in our minds, and how we are in our minds, we are in our bodies, and the relationship between the two. See if I can get the thing on here. We'll go back to that first slide because I like it. That's me. Sopping up the sun, enjoying the energy of that particular day. Moving very swiftly away from the garden and into where I believe a lot of us live our lives nowadays. Technology. Now, I did listen to some of the AI, but I was in and out, just sort of gathering my own thoughts. I am, how would I say, technology and me are not best of friends. I try my best to get used to it, but it's not really my bag. And it seems to me that over the last 30 plus years in my career, when I first started off with my typewriter in my office, and saw in the serviced office a computer coming into being and thinking, wow, that's an amazing machine, gee whiz. I'll never have one of those, but goodness gracious, it's fantastic. Fast forward to today, and I have probably the best part of 16 computers in my home, via desktops, laptops, phones, etc., etc., in a very short space of time. So what does that do to us as human beings? How does that interfere with us and our humanities and the way in which we interact with each other and what we take on board? So nowadays, I believe a lot of us live paced by the external world, paced by where we're challenged by what's happening on a day-to-day basis from technology, from the aspects of time. You know, how many, I would be so wealthy if in my life I was getting even, I don't know, half a pence for every time somebody said, there's not enough time in the day. So the idea that time is constantly catching up on us, we're running away the whole time. On top of that, our kids now in the family are no longer necessarily interacting with us in the way that they might have done when we were children, sitting around the dinner table having a conversation with you, rather than their phone. In addition to that, we've got the idea that we now sit for far, far longer than ever before, hence the reason I got you up to begin with. We are sitting for long periods of a time. Not only our generation, but the generation coming on is sitting even longer because they play on games for hours on end, 3 teenage boys and all that. And that obviously has an impact on us and our musculoskeletal system and how that makes us feel mentally. So that's a challenger. And traffic, constantly overwhelmed by the roads, by traffic, which is ever increasing. Even in Stirling, I'm seeing more and more cars on the road in my short time of being there, 20 years. And the immediacy of what we expect in today's life. You know, we go online and Amazon, what, you're not getting it to me by tomorrow? Oh, no, don't want that then. Send a text. Why have they not replied 5 minutes later? What's happening here? We live in this immediate society. We want reactions now. All that does to us, I believe, as human beings, is it creates this state of constant pressure. It's constantly overwhelming. And when do you just stop? And actually, taking some of Angela's advice, do a wee bit of a self-check. When do you just stop and say, right, how do I feel? When do we internalize? When do we stop and think, how do I feel? I call this my sob scale. And in all the training I do, I get everybody checking their sob scale. And their sub-scale stands for, how is your state of being? How often do you ask yourself that? How often do you actually say, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling lousy. I get people to stand on a line, an imaginary line from 1 to 10, and I say, well, 1 being lousy and 10 being I'm feeling great today, and 5 being okay. I get them to stand there, and I get them to ask themselves the question, so are you happy there, or do you want to move somewhere on that line, and what do you need to be able to do so? Just in checking your state of being, it has a huge effect on you feeling better in yourself, because you're giving yourself time. Time. We're not living as AI. Although, when I used to work in the House of Commons, when I first went in there, I would go into Hansard, where they do the official report, and I would watch the journalists, and they were literally working machine to machine. They sat in postures fixed to that machine to get the official report out every night, nightly deadline. And you saw them tightening more and more and more as the time got less and less and less, and they had to get this publication out. What does that do to us? It affects the way we project on other people. So yes, we're looking at ourselves, we're looking at our own state of being, but we can also think, well, if I'm feeling a bit down, a bit sort of low, that's okay, but do I want to project that on other people, or do I want to project a feeling of positivity? Positivity. For me, projecting energy is the most attractive thing human beings have. You know the situation where somebody might phone and say, fancy going out for a drink tonight? I've had a great day. You think, yes, let's go out drinking. And then you've got the person who says, I've had a lousy day at work. Fancy going out for a drink? And you think, oh, God, well, no, not particularly, because I'm going to come home feeling knackered, because all I'm going to hear about is your problems. So the radiator and the drain, which one are you? A radiator or a drain? We have that choice. And ironically enough, we can do things to make ourselves feel better. We can do physiological things, which have huge effects on our internal hormones. And they're simple things that we don't do enough of. So the first, as I said, mind and body being hardwired, the first thing I just want you to invite to think about, when you're feeling a bit down, when you're feeling a little bit fed up, do you walk around like this? I wouldn't suspect so. I would suggest when we feel a bit low, a bit fed up, we close in on ourselves and we actually walk with the weight of the world on our shoulders. However, we can consciously make the decision to change that. So we can consciously change our posture should we choose to do so, rather than this. Does that work on this? No. Rather than this wee lassie here. This was one of a previous graphic tapestry that I think Claire might have been involved in this one. Rather than being down in the dumps and feeling low and actually bringing your body into the emotion that you're feeling, you can change that. You can feel what you want. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, if he's still here, can I invite you to stand up again? I need to put this down for a minute. Thinking about how we are as individuals and thinking about our body posture, we have the ability to change the hormones inside ourselves, to bring the happy hormones inside and to bring the endorphins out by occupying as much possible space as you can. However, can I advise when you do this that you watch, you don't punch anybody in the ribs. What I would like you to do is to stretch as far as you can. You saw me in the first one, and really feel the energy coming into the body. As big as you can. Occupy as much possible space as you can. And I'm not going to keep doing this for 2 minutes. However, by doing that for around 2 minutes, it starts to change the hormones in your body. And in doing so, you will feel better. If any of you have got a job interview, Well done, Jojo. If any of you have got a job interview, if any of you have got a challenging thing to do at work, power pose before you do it. If any of you want to get more information, look at Amy Cuddy, TED Talk. Fantastic. Very, very well worth a view. Get my clicker again. Now, unfortunately, this did have a soundtrack with it, but the soundtrack is no longer. This next simple thing is another fantastic tool. Laughter. We don't tend to laugh when we're feeling lousy unless it's hysteria, but we'll hopefully not go down that avenue. We don't use laughter terribly much, but we know when we laugh, we feel better as a result of laughing. Laughter physiologically suppresses adrenaline and cortisol, the stress hormones that G us up, and it changes the dynamic of how you feel. The great news is your unconscious mind isn't a thinker. So you tell it stuff and your unconscious mind believes it. So even if you don't find something funny and you laugh, it has a superb effect because the unconscious mind thinks, yippee, I'm happy. You may not be consciously thinking that, but you can trick yourself into it. Fake it till you believe it, fake it till you make it. And by doing laughter, it has a fantastic effect in making you feel better. However, where's my pen gone? I thought I had a pen here. I'll borrow this one. However, if you really struggle with the aspects of laughter, then what you can do is you can mimic laughing and make the corners of your mouth come up by taking a pen and simply, do you want to do it with me? Anybody's got a pen? Put it in your mouth. You're tricking your unconscious mind into the belief you feel good. So laughter is phenomenally good tool, a good drug to use to make yourself feel better when you perhaps are feeling in that place where things are not going in the way you might want them to go. I'm not suggesting that we constantly should wander around laughing our heads off and etc., but it's just acknowledging the fact that we can control our own energy. We can take control of how we feel. And if you wish to, you can become a Mary Poppins. One last thing I'd like you to do before I sort of finish is, can you all just get your mobile phones to hand, please? Right, I would like you to bring a little bit of Mary Poppins to somebody else. So any friend that you have, I just want you to send them a text, either saying thank you for being my friend, or thank you for doing something that they might have done in the last wee while. Just send anybody a text, any friend you have, saying thank you for being my friend. Bring a little magic into their day today, do something unexpected, and be their Mary Poppins. It's all very quiet. Be interesting to see what responses or replies you get, if you get any. But then you need to put your mobile phones away again. So let me finish by saying, be your best self. Bring your energies to a positive place. Project that on other people. Give that feeling of, I want to be in your space. I want to radiate and be in a happy place. I'm not undermining the times when we don't always feel happy, but it's acknowledging the fact that we can take control. We can be our best self. As much as you want to be, you've got techniques to use. Breathing, we've done one. Laughter, power posing, so beneficial and so easy. So the choice is yours to either be your best self, feel good. Thank you very much. Thank you.